My relationship with Natsumi Akatsuki has been a mixed bag. I absolutely love Konosuba. It's pretty much a comedy legend. You can't go through a comedy list without having, Nichijou and Konosuba on it. But unfortunately, with its next work, Konomichi Rise Up, wasn't a huge fan. Didn't really work for me. The comedy wasn't really there for me personally. But coming around to Combatants Will Be Dispatched, this series kind of feels like a return to kind of that same flavor that Konosuba had. But this is my review of the 12-episode series that aired in the spring 2021 anime season. So let's jump into it. Combatants Will Be Dispatched opens up with a man codenamed Number 6 who has been dispatched to another planet. Essentially, the Kisaragi Corporation that he works for is a villainous corporation that has essentially taken over Earth. Or at least they're in the process of. And in order to stretch out further their control, they have decided they want to go to other planets, other worlds, and continue to spread out their corporation. And Number 6 has been selected to be transported to one of these other worlds, along with an AI named Alice, and the two of them are put inside of a still being tested transportation device that they don't really know what the effects is going to be, but they do it anyways. And they are transported to this other world where they then decide to kind of infiltrate the growing nation's there's army in order to essentially spy on them and find out, all that they need to find out in order to overthrow the kingdom. And the funny effect of this is they end up actually, Number 6 end up actually enjoying his time there because he's actually getting paid more by this nation than what the Kisaragi Corporation is paying him. But even still, it kind of turns to this whole thing where he is, again, spying on this nation. At the same time, he's waiting for reinforcements, and eventually this Kisaragi Corporation is going to transport their army there and then overthrow the world. During this time, he meets several different people, including Snow, who is like the leader of the army here, Grim, who is like this curse user, Rose, who is this Cerberus creature thing that is able to kind of take the abilities of things that it bites. And of course, Alice, who is this AI that's working for him. Like I mentioned before, the comedy really does seem to be returned to form for this particular writer. And the idea that, you do get a lot of trappings in this particular series of Konosuba. And that might be a down for most people because the idea of somebody kind of returning to a similar flavor, almost like not really experimenting with new concepts. But even still, this series has a lot of new elements added to it that gives it its own unique flavor outside of Konosuba. Yes, Snow is very Aqua-ish. Rose makes a early on Megaman reference, but they all are not necessarily those characters. They have their own attributes to them. Rose kind of more in the idea of duty and serving her kingdom and kind of not wanting Number 6 to be around just because she doesn't trust him. Even though she does have the trappings of being very selfish, she's always in debt. She's trying to break out of that debt. So again, there's a lot of elements to her. Again, Rose making a Megaman reference and being kind of chuny starting out, it's really only something that her master, her creator, told her to do. But in actuality, she's more just kind of a very ditzy goofball that just wants to chew on things. It's not really that she's a Megaman character. And Graham, while you might make an argument similar to Darkness from the Konosuba series, she's just an absolute nut job. And her whole concept of her is that she does curses, but if she fails the curse, it will reflect upon herself. So she has a lot of kind of misfortune surrounding her, really, is what it is. And while you can make the argument that Number 6 is very similar to the main character, Konosuba, which completely escapes me right now, he has this element to him that he is kind of a failure in a lot of regards. He's not very good at what he does. His humor is really kind of driven by the fact that this Kisaragi Corporation gives them points based on them doing evil deeds. And so he kind of has to go out of his way to do something really terrible, and he kind of revels in it. And at the same time, he's gaining the points that he can use to summon equipment in order to get his objective done. And what's funny is early on, that was kind of a lot of the humor for me. I really did love the idea of him. It reminded me a lot of Disgaea, if anybody's ever watched played that series, is they have a lot of this idea of being evil is a good thing. And that's kind of the thing here is he's trying to do these evil deeds. He's, revealing himself in public or whatever, and it's causing an evil deed, he gets the money, and then he's able to use that to buy weapons. Or if he's in a really dire situation, he's almost having to force to do something to somebody nearby or to get an evil deed, or he's kind of ranking in the points in order to be, full of cash for later on. And those elements were really hilarious to me. But unfortunately, for a majority of the show, it doesn't play off that joke. And that was probably the more unique joke they had in this particular series, and it seemed like it didn't play it enough. But even still, when it did, it was really funny, and I really did enjoy that. Additionally to this, you kind of get the sense of the dirty player. He is a character that whenever he goes onto the battlefield, of course you have all these knights that are like, this is a chivalrous battle. We need to go in there and fight on the battlefield itself, our forces against theirs. And he's on the sideline going, no, let's not do that. Let's just cut off their main supply lines, and they'll just starve and they'll leave. And they're like, no, that's dishonorable. You can't do that. But his mentality is taking the easiest route in order to win. And that's really a sense you get of this character, is that he just he takes the easier plane of things. He doesn't really put his neck out there for these people, because obviously it's not his nation. And so you do have a kind of a lot of humor is built around the idea that, when things are going bad, him and Alice will look at each other and go, let's run, right? Yeah, let's run. They're not afraid of just saying, screw this, I don't want to die, I'm out of here. And every time they do something like that, it's always hilarious. Like, this nation is in trouble, and the princess is coming to them and saying, we need your help, please save our nation. And he's just like, nope, we're out of here, let's ditch. It does have a kind of a reality in his character, like, this isn't necessarily something, I'm not the hero, I'm not going to put my neck out there. And every time they do kind of have that sense of, Alice isn't thinking anything different. Alice is like, yeah, let's not do this. This is stupid. And they just have this brief moment of, yeah, we're in sync here. Let's get out of here. And every time that kind of happens, it's always hilarious. Yeah, the series is a lot of fun. And like I said, a lot of its humor is very Konosuba-ish, mixed in with this kind of, again, evil element to it of it is kind of a dark humor, very subtle dark humor. Zany dark humor is really what it is. It's not really trying to be too graphic about it. It's not being too violent with it. And I think that's really, really, it kind of hits me. Like, me personally, it worked, and I did enjoy it. I just think that there is quite a lulling point in the center part of this series where it just doesn't really feel like it's doing much unique with its characters. But even still, the chemistry is there. I really do like the chemistry. I didn't think I was going to like Grimm, and Grimm is hilarious. Her misfortune comedy works so well. Snow and her kind of debt that she's always dealing with, and her wanting to kind of work things out, but always having number 6 there to really kind of mess with her was great. I really did enjoy like this whole thing where there was one moment where they were kind of spreading a rumor of why he left the kingdom, and the rumor was that Snow was harassing him so much that he had to leave. So way later in the episode, he finally goes back to the nation, and Grimm shows up and says, I know it was hard for you having Snow harassing you, but are you going to come back? And this whole moment of Snow going, look, that didn't happen. So it does it does quite a bit of that whole referencing things and then kind of pulling it back in later, which definitely works out for the series. It's not the prettiest looking series. It definitely does work for it. A lot of the action scenes, they work it out. I'm kind of surprised the comedy series being able to do some decent work with the animation. So it does a decent job of keeping things moving, because there is quite a bit of action scenes in the series. And I do like a lot of the character designs. A lot of that work was really well done. I guess if I have to put any kind of warnings in there, it would probably be if you don't like, kind of more of the raunchier or sexual humor, there is quite a bit of that here. So keep that in mind. But overall, I did enjoy the series, and I do recommend it, especially if you did like Konosuba, and maybe you were like me, disappointed in Konomichi Rise Up, or even if you like Konomichi Rise Up and Konosuba, you're going to enjoy this series. But it is definitely a solid comedy. Like I said, it does have some lulling points in it, but overall, it was an enjoyable ride that I really did enjoy in the end, and a lot of the humor really did hit me. So definitely recommend Combatants Will Be Dispatched, a really solid comedy series by the writer of Konosuba. If you like this video, please leave a like down below, comment, let me know what you thought of the series, subscribe if you haven't already. I thank y'all for watching, and y'all take care.